Hi everybody, welcome to our 30th anniversary virtual celebration. I am Jessica Graves, the Development Director at the Teton Regional Land Trust, and I'm here with Jocelyn Matkins, our Executive Director. So as you can see, we're out in the barn at Six Springs Ranch, but we're a little lonely here, just the two of us. We would have loved to celebrate with you in person, but of course, as you can imagine, we just had to adjust and pivot and do things a little differently this year. So.
Yeah, and Jessica, thanks so much for rolling with the punches and creating such great content for this whole week and for a great program tonight. I am especially excited to hear from Mark Ellsbury, who is with the Conservation Fund and has been working in Eastern Idaho since 1987. So I can't think of a better person. He's been around actually longer than the Land Trust to reflect on the work of private land conservation in Eastern Idaho and the work yet to be done. So that's coming up here in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm very excited for his keynote as well. But before we go into that, we have a couple of short videos and some fun announcements. So we'll kick it off with a short video now.
What I appreciate most about the Land Trust is how they work with willing families to establish land that will be under easements permanently.
The thing I appreciate the most is that the property is being protected, open space. There's a lot of growth in this area, a lot of subdivisions, and that's good, but I think that we need to protect and have open space for wildlife and just for people to enjoy.
I think that we as humans and the animals that habituate here needs protection.
And there's an integration, whether your aspect is conservation or farming or wildlife or ranching or open spaces.
They really educated people in East Idaho about the value of keeping open space, keeping intact wildlife habitat, the value of working in agricultural lands.
Overall integrity. I mean, I think as an organization, we ride these cycles where there's some pretty hot political issues, and the Land Trust has been amazingly even-keeled about not getting involved in any of those issues.
It's called the Land Trust, but I really think it's a way of life, and you know, my personal values lean more towards the river and the wildlife and all that sort of thing, but growing up here in all this farmland, it's pretty precious, you know. And when I'm in the house, I look down in the river bottom and all the trees and the river and all that, but I enjoy just as much looking out over these beautiful fields, and it's all part of what the Land Trust does, and that's what I think is really important.
I have been an advocate of the Land Trust ever since it began. I could see that there was a lot of land protection and public lands on the other side of the Tetons, but over here we had this just wonderful gem, and most of the land, or a good portion of the land, is private, and that creates an issue for wildlife habitat.
It's very beautiful out here, like I have said before, and you're not going to have some massive house development on this land, which is perfectly fine as it is right now, and it'll be protected pretty much forever, and I think that's pretty cool because it'll keep this place we keep coming back to so pristine. So.
Really, the tent is open for all kinds of different people, and I think the results have really proven that. We have all kinds of landowners, different situations, and that's always really impressed me.
I love that they protect it because there's so much wildlife that comes here because there's like no big houses. It's pretty much spread out, and there's just so many places for them to be.
It's a pleasure every year to support the Land Trust and its mission. It's an honor to get to go to the properties that they preserve and advocate for.
It goes at the core of what needs to be done in the next several decades, which is preserving our landscape and I think there's the idea of perpetuity.
And the land trust is one of the most effective ways to do it. And in that note, I think too the artists have a really critical role to play in terms of awareness. We as artists have that ability to share and to affect change and improvement.
This nonprofit is one that makes this place that we love last.
So before I dive into showing you how to use HandBid, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our sponsors. We couldn't have done it without them, and especially our gold sponsors, Portfolio Solutions and Tributary. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and sticking it out with us through this whole in-person event going virtual. And of course also our silver sponsors and our bronze sponsors. We are so thankful for your support, and we've got their information if you would like to learn a little bit more about them on our website and also on HandBid and on our social media. Yeah, just give them a click on their logo and it will take you to their website and you can learn a little bit more about our sponsors. Another couple things that I would like to go over is like when you're looking at the live stream right now and you scroll up, you can see a couple tabs. You can see overview, browse items, register, and donate. So if you're interested in looking at our auction items, just go to the browse items tab and click on it, and you'll see all of our auction items listed underneath there. And then you can also go to the categories tab on the left hand side there if you just want to look for something specific like art or an overnight trip. If you go to the main auction page and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see that we have a raise your hand bid for conservation, and we really hope that you feel compelled and inspired to support our work through that. We've got a $15,000 match on the table, and we're hoping to raise $30,000 tonight. So all of the donations that we get in tonight will go towards that to unlock that $15,000 match. So we really hope that you will support us getting there. We also have some merchandise for sale and raffle tickets, so all of that should be on that page. Really easy to navigate, easy to click on, and easy to bid on and buy. So I just want to make sure that you know that when you register, you have to put in your credit card information, but you actually won't get charged until you check out. So you can put things into your cart, and then you'll have to check out yourself at the end. We won't charge you anything until you do that, actually. So also for bidding, HandBid will let you know if you have the winning bid and won the prize. So I think that's probably it for that. And if you have any issues or difficulties with the bidding or navigating the website, the people at HandBid are very readily available to help you navigate those issues. And I'm happy to also help with any of those issues later on tonight. We would like to highlight a couple more auction items that we have tonight. One of those is a open safari in Grand Teton National Park offered by Brushbuck Wildlife Tours, or you can choose a full day trip in Yellowstone National Park for 2 people. So check that out if you are interested to learn a little bit more about the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem, and those guys do a fantastic job teaching you about the wildlife and showing you the best spots to see them. So definitely bid on that price if you're interested in a tour. We also have a golf package here in Teton Valley offered by Tributary. So if you are interested in having a fun day with your friends or family, it's up to 4 people and guaranteed fun and beautiful views here in Teton Valley. Then we also have a couple of really awesome trips abroad offered by Black River Outfitters. It's a fishing trip to Uruguay and a dove hunting trip to Uruguay. And don't worry, you've got 2 years to plan this trip. So if you bid on it and you win it tonight, you have 2 more years to use that trip and to get your travel lined out for that. So plenty of time there. We also have a beautiful condo right on the ocean in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta, 3 nights in a condo. So if you're interested in planning a nice little getaway to Mexico, check out that price as well. So yeah, plenty of amazing things to bid on and also to support our work. We're getting so close to our $15,000 goal. So now's your chance to support us through the Raise Your Hand bid for conservation. And you have till 8:30 tonight to do that. So thank you guys so much. I am going to pass it over to Jocelyn Matkins, and she has been working for Land Trust over the last 20 years across the West, and she's been our executive director here at the Teton Regional Land Trust for the last 6 years. So excited to hear from you, Jocelyn.
Thanks, Jessica. There are some great auction items out there for bid. For me, I absolutely love anniversaries. They're one of my favorite things to celebrate because they give us a chance to look back, to reflect, and to take stock of what we've accomplished. And they allow us to peer into the future, to turn a page and to think about what's next. And tonight I'm going to share some great highlights of what we've accomplished and, the work going forward. We are going to stay at helping ensure that the ecological integrity of this region is strong and that the landscape is connected and that people are connected to the land. We hope that we can inspire people to help us protect it through their connection with this incredible place. And I've had the opportunity over the last, couple of months to meet with some of the founders and hear some stories about what they were thinking when they founded the Land Trust. And Michael Whitfield shared with me that their big vision at that time when they were the Teton Valley Land Trust was 10,000 acres in 20 years. And here we are, 30 years later, we have over 36,000 acres protected across our service area. So we were able to get to 11,000 acres in Teton Valley and another 25,000 as we expanded to work on the South Fork and the Henry's Fork and the High Divide and other areas that I'll highlight here in just a minute. So thanks again for being a part of this, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to share this celebration with you. So here in Teton Valley, we have protected over 11,000 acres, and that started right here at Six Springs Ranch with our first conservation easement in 1995. And that easement, located at the mouth of Teton Creek and Teton River, really represents what we've been striving to protect all along. The Teton River, the associated wetlands, and the migration corridors that transect the valley. And Teton Valley has one of the largest wetland complexes in the greater Yellowstone that's not found on public land. And what that means is, that it's on private land and that it's up to private landowners and organizations like the Land Trust to work together to protect it. And it's really important. There was a study by Reed Noss in the early 2000s that looked at all of the lands surrounding Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton National Park and really asked, which of these areas, these watersheds, these, communities offer up the most important land and habitat as it relates to the ecological function of Yellowstone and of the greater Yellowstone. And Teton Valley was ranked number 2 in large part because of the wetland. And that wetland provides habitat for a whole suite of species and different parts of their life cycles. And we've focused over the last probably decade or so on species like the sandhill crane and the trumpeter swan, one because they're iconic and beautiful species and can capture our attention and imagination, but also because they're umbrella species. And if we protect habitat for them, we're able to protect habitat for a whole suite of species. For example, Teton Valley hosts the largest staging population of sandhill cranes in the greater Yellowstone, and that is because we have the Teton River and the shallow wetlands associated with it that the cranes use for roosting habitat and for security at night. And then when they're staging, they want to find really close to those secure night areas abundant forage to fuel up for their migration. And the agricultural lands and the barley that's left over after harvest is perfect for that. And so by protecting the wetlands and working with agricultural producers to protect the farmlands, we're really protecting habitat for staging cranes, obviously, but also for moose and for the whole myriad of other species out there. And unfortunately, our Crane Fest this year is going to be virtual, but we hope you'll tune in. And then trumpeter swans. We have been working for about a decade to help reintroduce nesting trumpeter swans to Teton Valley. And we're doing that to bolster the population of Yellowstone National Park so that we can be a part of passing on the wonders of Yellowstone and all of the species that call it home to future generations, and passing that home on to future generations for the wildlife and for the people. And here in Teton Valley, we still have a lot of work to do and a lot of landowners interested in protecting their land. Right now we have 14 landowners that want to work with us to protect over 1,600 acres. And we can do that with your help. That's part of what we're here to do tonight, and part of what the auction is all about. So I encourage you to look at Teton Valley Lodge donated a Cast and Blast, a fall hunting and fishing package, and some of our great local plein air artists have donated some work. So check that out, and you can be a part of helping us move the projects forward in Teton Valley. So that is really exciting, and we hope that you'll bid on those. So another area that I want to highlight is the Henry's Fork and the High Divide. And the Henry's Fork, flowing from Henry's Lake and Big Springs and the Buffalo River through Island Park and down into Ashton and towards the confluence. That's an amazing river, and it connects with the High Divide. And the High Divide is that area along the Idaho-Montana border. And that area is really important because it connects the Greater Yellowstone, which is one of the largest intact ecosystems in the United States and on the planet, with one of the largest wilderness areas, the Frank Church. And so maintaining the connectivity between those two big, vast landscapes is really important for wildlife. And we've done a lot of work up there. We've got over 16,000 acres protected in the High Divide and along the Henry's Fork. And that is critical for wildlife that are migrating in and out of the park and across the landscape. And we've done some great work around the Ashton area. The winter range out there is critically important to big game like mule deer and elk, and of course the Henry's Fork is an iconic fishery, which we all know. And you know, we are still working hard in this landscape. There's so much potential out there. Right now we have 8 landowners who have about 16,000 acres, almost 10 times what we could do in Teton Valley, out on the vast landscape there. And we're really excited to be doing that work because it's really important. And that study that I mentioned, the Reed-Noss study, it found the Henry's Fork area and the High Divide, Shotgun Valley, that whole area is actually the #1 most important area for the ecological integrity and viability of Yellowstone. So our work up there is really important, and we have Mike Lawson and Henry's Fork Anglers to thank for an auction package there. So bid on that and you can get out and fish with Mike. So the last area I want to highlight tonight before we turn it over to our keynote is the South Fork of the Snake and the Tex Creek area. And with the Snake River Partnership, we have been able to protect together over 25,000 acres. That includes the river canyon all the way down to the confluence. And the Land Trust has been able to protect about 10,000 acres between work on the South Fork and work in the area like the Tex Creek Wildlife Management Area. And this is super important. The canyon offers one of the largest intact cottonwood galleries in the United States, in the lower 48, and is one of the most biologically diverse habitats in all of Idaho. And the Tex Creek area is incredible. It has really high quality intact winter range for thousands of elk and mule deer, and it also has intact sagebrush steppe habitat, and both sharptail and sage grouse utilize that area. And there is so much more work to be done here as well, and right now we have 5 landowners willing to help us protect 5,000 acres. And so again, you can help us with that by bidding tonight. And we have a great auction item from the Lodge at Palisades, a 2-night stay and fishing on the South Fork. So bid on that and help us get work done on the South Fork. So as part of this 30th anniversary celebration, we are doing a special series of awards, and there's a handful of special awards, from the volunteer appreciation to membership appreciation, board service, staff service. But one that we award every year is the Ed Hill Conservation Award. And this award is meant for people or partnerships that have really exemplified conservation in the greater Yellowstone and within our service area. And this year, to celebrate the 30 years, we really wanted to focus on and highlight the incredible commitment of the landowners that have granted a conservation easement on their land. And if we did those one by one, it would take us 130 years to get through all of those incredible families and individuals. And so this year, our Ed Hill Award is going collectively to our landowners, and we're so grateful for their vision and commitment. We wouldn't be here celebrating today without our landowner partners. And the other award that I want to highlight right now is the Collaboration Award. And this award is the Snake River Partnership that really started on the South Fork. And it's the Nature Conservancy, the Conservation Fund, the Bureau of Land Management, and the Land Trust have been working together for over 25 years, protecting almost 30,000 acres within the South Fork and around the confluence. And the work that they've done to protect the canyon and the surrounding areas for the fishery, for the recreation, and for the wildlife is truly inspiring. So I'm really excited to share this tonight and share this with Mark. And so we're going to move forward with the presentation and hear from Mark.
Hi, my name is Mark Ellsbury. I'm with the Conservation Fund here in Idaho. I'm responsible for our conservation programs and real estate work throughout the state. And this is Karen.
Hi, my name is Karen Rice. I am retired from the Bureau of Land Management, and I work for BLM. I was fortunate enough to be involved with our land conservation program. Most of it was centered here along the South Fork of the Snake River. Now that I'm retired, I am also fortunate enough to serve on the board of Teton Regional Land Trust.
So Mark, will you tell us a little bit about how the partnership came together here on the South Fork?
Yeah, thanks, Jocelyn. The partnership's evolved over many years. As Karen has mentioned, the interagency group formed in the early to mid 80s and began recognizing the ecological significance of the river. At that time, the nonprofit organizations also became interested in the area. There was a proposed development in the heart of the canyon just downriver from here called the Hayes Ranch Proposed Development. It's a 66 home site subdivision with golf course, boat marina, right in the most sensitive part near Gormer Canyon of the South Fork. And with that, the nonprofits began to look very seriously at private land conservation, working with the landowners that held the private properties along the river to see what we could do to ensure long-term conservation. Initially, it was the Nature Conservancy, made the first purchase of conservation lands on the river in 1989, the Durant Bottoms property from Don Brown and his family. And then the Conservation Fund also got involved with their contacts from conservation-oriented buyers and access to capital, real estate expertise, and of course the Teton Regional Land Trust. Right here from the beginning, 1990 at their founding, with Michael Whitfield, former executive director's real passion and leadership, his knowledge of the South Fork. He was a real guiding light for the Upper Snake River Partnership that galvanized really to help BLM meet its objectives along the river related to the private lands that are intermixed throughout the landscape.
It was the formation of was no formal formation. There's no agreement signed, no MOUs, but the partners started to work together to put together applications to receive land and water conservation funds, and that really focused the partnership on private land conservation along the river corridors, and it was a real inspiration for everyone to work on a common goal, even though we all operate differently.
The Land Trust has made a significant impact on the conservation of the greater Yellowstone system and of Idaho in general. It's really been remarkable to work with the Land Trust and to see their work protecting working ranch lands and farmlands, important wildlife migration corridors, river corridors like the South Fork and the Henry's Fork that are just precious to eastern Idaho and the Yellowstone system. Land Trust has created a bridge to landowners. It's given landowners a voice, landowners that want to protect their lands for their natural and agricultural values and for their families. And the Land Trust has helped make some of those hopes and dreams happen for a lot of the ranchers and farmers across eastern Idaho, and it's really been a great model throughout the state, and it's made a huge difference in the landscape. So we're looking forward to seeing some more of this as we continue to move forward. You know, top of the list here locally is the relationships that were developed and have been developed with the local families, the landowners up and down the river. We share values for the protection of the resource and the agricultural community. They're multi-generational families. We worked with some of their moms and are working with the sons and daughters now. There were folks here who actually were involved in the homesteading of the property that we got to meet early on in the project, since passed, but we're working with their sons and granddaughters to conserve those family lands. And those are deep relationships, and they're born from the South Fork and the shared values that we have with them and the families. And that's been personally very gratifying and a real special part of it.
And it's been an honor for me to get to work with both of you. I'm so glad that when you retired from the BLM, you were willing to join our board and lend your expertise. And Mark, we've worked on some great projects here on the South Fork, and there's some that are in the works that are really exciting as well. So thank you guys both so much for all your work.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to help you celebrate the 30 years of tremendous conservation work in East Idaho.
Thanks, Jocelyn, and thanks to your team and your board of directors. Congratulations on 30 years, and here's to 30 more coming at you. So thank you all.
Up next, we are going to hear from Mark Elsbree, our keynote tonight. So Mark has been working in eastern Idaho since 1987, and he's currently the Senior Vice President of the Conservation Fund, which he's been working for the last 20 years. And Mark is really fond of fishing and being out in nature and recreating along the South Fork, and we're really excited to hear his perspective on the importance of private land conservation in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. So Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jessica. It's really an honor to be here celebrating the Teton Regional Land Trust's 30th anniversary. I appreciate you having me, and I welcome all of you who are joining us for this. As Jessica mentioned, my name is Mark Elsbree, and I'm fortunate in that Idaho has been my home for the past 35 years. I'm currently a Senior Vice President for the Conservation Fund, implementing and managing conservation land transactions here in Idaho and throughout the western United States. The fund is a national organization dedicated to acquiring and protecting lands for wildlife habitat, recreation, and economic benefit to local communities. We're living through an unprecedented time, and I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that and the tremendous challenge that our country and society are facing. all of us have been impacted by COVID-19, some much more adversely than others. And I hope you and your families remain safe and healthy. It's really remarkable for me to be here, as I can remember well when the Teton Valley Land Trust was founded in 1990, some 30 years ago today. With a passion and focus on protecting lands critical to eastern Idaho and its communities, the Land Trust set out with passion to maintain some of the very special places that we have here in the state. The Teton River and its wetlands, the South Fork of the Snake, the Henry's Fork of the Snake River, and beautiful, productive agricultural lands that provide food, wildlife habitat, and open space. In the late 1980s, I met Michael Whitfield, one of the Land Trust's terrific leaders. And there have been several, including Chet Work and Jocelyn today. And I sought out Michael's guidance on contacting key landowners in eastern Idaho who owned properties that had nesting bald eagles. So the idea was to contact these folks and inform them and recognize them for the importance of their private lands to nesting bald eagles, which were just beginning to recover from endangered species status at that time. Many of these properties were along the Snake River, the South Fork and the Henry's Fork. And well, Michael knew many of these landowners through his bald eagle research. And I guess it would be generous to say that he was skeptical of the idea, as he knew these landowners were well aware of the nesting eagles on their properties, and they probably didn't need to hear from some young environmental conservationist type. But after a bit, Michael relented, and he helped make introductions to a number of these East Idaho families that owned and worked some of the most critical conservation lands in the Yellowstone region. So a partnership was born right then and there, based on a shared philosophy of working cooperatively to help private landowners protect their special properties for wildlife and agricultural values. And that carries forward today, 30 years later. And it needs to carry forward for the next 30 years and beyond, as conservation challenges and opportunities for eastern Idaho have never been greater. In terms of challenges, I want to go back to the pandemic. The pandemic, you say? Why? Well, I say because I feel strongly that crisis often accelerates the inevitable. Crisis often accelerates the inevitable. And that's exactly what I see happening in Idaho right now. More folks are interested in Idaho. More folks want to have a home here, a business. They want to live in Idaho and work here. East Idaho is leading that charge. And it's doing so for all the reasons we know, all the reasons we love. Community, open space, wildlife, beautiful productive farmland, recreation, clean water, clean air. I could go on, but the point is the pandemic and other far-reaching quality of life issues are making Idaho more and more attractive each day. This is good, right? Growth, prosperity, improved livelihoods and resources. Yeah, you bet. But I say we've got to be very careful with this growth and prosperity. We don't want to lose the most important things that make Idaho, Idaho. And we don't have to. But looking ahead, that means we must plan and protect the most critical natural and agricultural lands that make up the fabric of eastern Idaho. That's where, as you know, the Teton Regional Land Trust comes in. It's what the organization does and does so well. And we are beyond fortunate to have benefited from the Land Trust work for some 30 years now. In terms of opportunity, we're at an amazing place in the life cycle of private land conservation. Truly, 30 years ago, I was rattling around trying to get Michael to simply provide introductions to key landowners. so that we could talk to them and recognize them, express our appreciation for their long-term stewardship of their lands in ways that benefited bald eagles. That's all we could do. This month, we're riding the wave of the country having passed the Great American Outdoors Act. Simply put, this is the most important and most far-reaching action to promote voluntary private land conservation in a generation or longer. We've come a long way, a long, long way, and the Land Trust has been and continues to be a real leader on this journey. A leader in East Idaho, in the state, a leader in the Intermountain West, and a national leader in private land conservation at large. The work of this organization has turned heads and given high-level decision makers the courage to double down on funding for private land conservation, the Great American Outdoors Act, a fantastic thing. And now we in the land conservation business need to be able to act. There's a lot of pressure to succeed. The stakes are high, never higher, I would say. And we must respond. We must scale our organizations to do what we do best. Work cooperatively to help private landowners protect their special properties for wildlife and agricultural values. This isn't new. It's a philosophy and a practice that we've honed and executed on for 30 years. So, in closing, I want to offer my thanks to all of you who've made the Teton Regional Land Trust, who've made it a national leader in private land conservation, by working right here in eastern Idaho to protect one of the most vital landscapes and communities on the planet. We have an amazing opportunity before us now that allows us to step up our work addressing the increasing challenges that our resources and communities face. So, let's saddle up, let's partner up, and let's get to work. And with that, I want to tip my cap to the Teton Regional Land Trust and 30 years of conservation leadership and success. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. That was so inspiring, and thank you for all of the work you've done in eastern Idaho over the years. It's really impressive. And I absolutely agree with you. The time to act is now. There is so much more land that needs protection. And as you saw in Jocelyn's presentation, we are working on so many different projects in our service area, and we can't do that without your help. And the ways you can do that tonight, for example, is to go to our handbid online auction platform and raise your hand bid for conservation. Or you can bid on any of our amazing auction prizes or buy raffle tickets or any of our merchandise. So please go check that out if you haven't already done so.
Oh, what a night. Jeske, that was really fun, and it was great being here with you to share in reflections and stories and to hear from Mark and to raise money for conservation.
Absolutely, I agree. It's been a blast, and the last couple of weeks have been so fun, just going out on the properties and interviewing the landowners and other award winners. It's been really awesome to meet everyone and to hear their stories. So, and then of course the auction, I'm just so impressed of how that came together. Thanks to all of the businesses and individuals that generously donated something to our amazing auction. And we're also getting so close to our $15,000 goal that we have tonight to raise, to unlock that $15,000 match, because we really hope to raise $30,000 tonight. So thanks to everyone that already has donated, and if you haven't already done so, we hope that you go to the Raise Your Hand Bid for Conservation before 8:30 p.m. tonight to help us get to that $30,000 goal.
And just a couple of more thank yous. I want to thank all of those that were willing to step in front of the camera and share their story. I really enjoyed watching them over this week, and the reflections tonight was really nice too. And that was all possible thanks to Tim Brockish. Tim is a board member, and He and his wife Wendy have also put their land under conservation easement, and Tim just did a wonderful job helping stitch this all together.
Absolutely.
So couldn't have done it without him. So thank you so much,
Thanks,
Tim,
Tim,
for everything that you did tonight.
Yeah. And so we're going to watch one more video and then do some closing remarks, I think, right?
That sounds great. The last thing that we're going to do is hear from Andrew Bowman, president of the Land Trust Alliance, and we awarded the Land Trust Alliance the Nonprofit Partner Award for everything that they have done to support us as a land trust and all the land trusts across the country. We are one of about 1,700, and so there's so much work that the Land Trust Alliance does to strengthen the voluntary private land conservation movement, and I'm really excited to hear from him as well.
Absolutely. Stay tuned because I will be back with a couple more things after this next video.
As the sun sets on Teton Valley, I want to thank you for being a part of our 30th anniversary celebration. It's because of you that we can celebrate 36,000 acres of working lands and wildlife habitat forever protected. And as we look forward, we want to close tonight with what is in store for the next 30 years.
Well, I want to wish you a happy birthday. This is incredible. When I was driving out here, I heard Tim McGraw's My Next 30 Years. And it reminded me of how much growth happens in 30 years and how much wiser you are when you approach your next 30 years. And so I'm wishing the Land Trust the best in their next 30 years.
Looking to the next 30 years, why do you think it's important for the Land Trust to continue doing the work that we're doing in the private land conservation?
Well, Idaho has tremendous resources. I mean, eastern Idaho has some of the most spectacular landscapes for wildlife habitat, for agriculture, for recreation, visual scenery, and the threat to those resources is only going to continue to increase.
What I'm seeing in just the last few years is the interest in this part of the world and people wanting to come here, and which is great. I mean, we love it, they should love it too, but it's going to be even more and more important looking forward to try to protect open space, protect the way of life, as I said earlier. This is an agricultural area. It's important economically, and also just the people that do it love doing it. And if something isn't done to kind of protect all that, I've seen other areas that have the development's just completely overwhelmed an area, and all of a sudden it isn't what it once was. And I'm not opposed to development, but I think that when we can, we need to seek out and find precious areas that can be preserved.
I'm very concerned about wildlife corridors for larger animals and flyways, because it's up to us to make sure that they have a place to go and feed when they need to.
There's so much growth and so many people coming into the area. And they come in here because they love what it offers, the openness, the opportunities to recreate here, and it can be lost if we don't try to protect some of this property. And so that's what I envision in 30 years. I'm sure I'll be long gone by then, and I just hope that the area is as beautiful now as it is then as it is now.
There's a tremendous amount of pressure on this valley and in our service area, and opportunities may start to dry up, particularly for larger pieces of property. I would hope that we could magnify the work of others and work together to make sure we are able to protect those key pieces.
I think what we could do is increase what we're doing, the scope and scale, and it would be phenomenal to use technology and science and employ that towards our ends, both doing things in a more efficient way and to get the most bang for the buck.
I would like to see, particularly since we're seeing growth again in our valley, for to continue to create the awareness that you guys have done so well at doing in a lot of venues, and that means educating people the importance of land trusts, not so much making private land public, but land trusts. And what we can all do as individuals to help kind of keep what we have here as much as possible. And we can do that as a community, that sense of community and sense of purpose, and getting everybody on board there. I think we can make our community stronger as well, besides continue to have an environment for us and for other creatures that is sustainable.
Continuing, a spirit of outreach, particularly in education. I think we've done a lot of good work with the community. I feel pretty strongly about involving kids.
The other thing I'm concerned about is our agriculture, and ranching and farming have been integral to our local economy. They're a big part of what makes this place what it is. A lot of great people engaged in those enterprises, and I'm concerned about loss of the critical mass of what it takes to make agriculture keep working, so that we feed our people and grow food locally that's great for our social well-being.
And then I would hope that we are an organization that continues to play a strong role on the stewardship side. As we maybe protect less property, it probably makes our existing properties more valuable and more important to store those and work with landowners to try to maximize benefits from those properties.
Land Trust needs to continue and step up its efforts to protect critical private lands in eastern Idaho and around Greater Yellowstone. The challenge has never been greater, and the opportunity's never been more important. So I'm hoping that we can continue to partner up and do good things for Idaho with the Teton Regional Land Trust moving forward.
Based on what we see, we've included the land trust in our legacy plan, in our estate planning.
It's wonderful. I mean, we are very aware that none of the work that we could do at all would be possible without folks like you, without great partners, without landowners that are, willing to see a vision for their land that includes having a great place for future generations. It is so great to hear from others that they value the work that we're doing, that people want us to continue protecting land. I think it's as important today as it was 30 years ago, if not more important. We are seeing our landscape transformed as more and more people want to live here, and I don't blame anybody. I moved here myself, as did you. You moved across an entire ocean to end up in the Greater Yellowstone.
I love to call this place my home.
And the other thing I think that is so great about the work that we're doing is that it does last forever. Our commitment to the landowners and to you as supporters is to steward the lands that we have protected for generations to come. So your investment, not only does it help get a new property protected, but it helps ensure that the properties we have protected, that 36,000 acres, is passed forward to future generations.
Yeah, and I just think it's so amazing that, you've got an opportunity to leave your legacy by supporting our work through, a donation, or through putting an easement on your land, or even just really like spreading the word about what we're doing here and just getting more people excited and involved. Like, there's so many different ways that you can be a part of this, and we're just so thankful, and I hope that this whole presentation, this whole hour-long program inspired you to support our work through the Raise Your Hand Bid for Conservation. We really hope to raise the $30,000 tonight, and we're getting so close.
I bet we're almost there.
I think
if you haven't pushed click,
Yeah.
Please do. And thank you again so much for joining us, for tuning in throughout the week, for giving your treasure to help secure this beautiful place for future generations. And I don't know if you have any closing remarks, or we'll hear from Andrew.
I am excited to see what Andrew's got to say. So I'm going to sign off for tonight, and thank you guys, and we'll see you soon, hopefully in person.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Bowman, President and CEO of the Land Trust Alliance. I want to start by congratulating everyone involved with the Teton Regional Land Trust for reaching this important milestone. And of course, I want to thank you on behalf of all of my colleagues at the Land Trust Alliance for the honor of being named the Land Trust's most valued nonprofit partner. While I can't say that I was personally involved with the Land Trust for all of the last 30 years, I can say with confidence that the Alliance has been proud to be a Teton Regional Land Trust partner every step of the way. I am proud not just because of the honor you bestow on us, but because your land trust is exactly what a high-performing land trust should look like and what we aspire to see across the nation. Since Michael Whitfield first helped establish and build the Land Trust, the Alliance has invested time and energy in this organization. We have worked with you through every executive director transition, we have supported your strategic planning, and we have provided team building, leadership training, and coaching. But we did not do this work alone. Across the years, under the leadership of Mike Whitfield, Chet Work, and now Jocelyn Matkins, the board and staff of your land trust have worked incredibly hard and demonstrated a consistent commitment to excellence. You have risen not only to the challenges that we have made, from accreditation to community conservation, but also have weathered executive director transitions, recessions, development booms, and now the current pandemic. Through it all, you have done a phenomenal job of protecting agricultural traditions in your valley and securing vital wildlife habitat. Congratulations on protecting 36,000 acres of habitat and working lands, 53 river miles, and 5,000 acres of wetlands, including almost all of the roosting habitat of the sandhill crane. And congratulations on how you have built deep connections with people in your community, including through the Greater Yellowstone Crane Festival, which I had the pleasure of attending in 2018. In closing, allow me to again say thank you for 30 years of a great partnership, for the friendship and warmth you have personally shown me, for this award, and for all that you do to conserve the places that people need and love. I wish you the best as you celebrate your 30th anniversary.
We're so excited to be celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. We couldn't have done all the work over the last 30 years without our landowners, our supporters, our members, our staff, our board. We just want to say a big thank you!